Right now on Andrea Mitchell Reports, Hurricane Ian, a dangerous and monstrous Category 4 storm with 155-mile-an-hour winds barreling toward imminent landfall along Florida's west coast. The storm carrying with it a life-threatening storm surge as high as 18 feet that will severely impact millions of people and put the Barrier Island communities completely underwater. MSNBC's Ali Velshi is in Naples, Florida. So, Ali, what can you tell us about the situation there at this hour? Off your balcony there. Looks pretty rough.
I can tell you less, Andrea, than I can show you. I'm going to ask Randy to just take a look out here. This is what storm surge looks like. This is, I'm telling you, 15 minutes ago I was on this beach. I was getting ready to talk to you, and I lasted about 40 seconds on the beach. It is, you can't withstand this kind of stuff. In fact, the reason we've had difficulty coming to you, Andrea, I was going to be with you at the top of the show, is because our satellite truck is now in danger of flooding. So we've had to get that out of the way, change the way in which we transmit this video to you. But look at this. This was all a beach. For 125 feet, this was all a beach a few hours ago. We are now, with the entire property that we're on. In fact, if Randy just looks down here, you can see gates that were parking gates that have been dislodged. There was furniture that was stacked out here. It's all gone. Everything's been wiped out to sea. In fact, the microphone that I was holding in order to talk to you, don't tell our bosses at NBC, it's swimming with the fishes right now. I've got this other microphone as a spare. That's how serious this is. And we're not even in the cone, Andrea. We're in Naples. The cone is far north of here. It hasn't hit, obviously. We're still about 2-3 hours away from that. So that is the intensity of this storm.
And that's an area that is most certainly going to be seeing a lot of rainfall. There's nowhere for this water to go. In many cases, it's at street level to begin with. The Tampa Bay area is more like a bath. And as we hear a sound right now, that's likely the alert going off here in Sarasota, warning people, don't try to get to the shelters. If you can hear that from my microphone, stay where you are. That window right now has officially closed.
These impacts are going to be far-reaching, far-felt. That storm surge is going to be the most dangerous aspect of this storm.
The water is really getting high. Ali, what's going on there?
Andrea, I got another mic, as you can see. I'm going to ask Randy to take a look. This is where we were. We were showing you the ocean. We were showing you the Gulf, really, the Gulf of Mexico, and the storm surge coming in. It continues to come in. Now, if Randy just tilts down a little bit, you can see this is our parking lot. This is the parking lot of where we're staying. Look at the water coming in over here. Now, look down there. You can see cars completely submerged. You can see debris flying around. Look over to the left there. There are 3 cars. There's a dark gray car closest to us, then a silver car, and a white car behind it. None of those cars are where they were actually parked. In fact, you can see that silver car in the middle has been completely pushed. That's the situation with all the vehicles. I haven't even gone around to the other side of the building where my vehicle is parked, but I suspect it's the same situation. Look at these properties across here. These are homes and apartments that have car parking underneath. The car parking is now almost completely submerged. There's debris all over the place. It's entirely flooded, and we are probably high tide here is going to be about 8 or 8:30 p.m. So we are hours away from high tide. We're also a few hours away from the worst of the storm being in.
Good day, I'm Chris Shansing, live at MSNBC headquarters in New York City. A nightmare of historic proportions is unfolding in Florida right now. The eye of Hurricane Ian is on the verge of making landfall on the state's heavily populated west coast.
Look at all these cars that were parked in an orderly fashion that are floating. We're not at 4 feet of water. You were talking about 12 to 18 feet of water. We're not at 4 feet of water, and probably we're going to get to 6 feet maybe here in Naples. We might be seeing places in Florida that are tripling that amount of water. And this is, by the way, happened in the last hour and a half or 2 hours. This has all happened very suddenly.
I'm guessing that just from the last 20 minutes when we spoke last, you can feel the difference.
Well, look, you know, bringing back the curtain a little bit, Chris, you and I both covered a lot of hurricanes. Seems perfectly fine here. All of a sudden, I reach back, and we've got a lot of wind right here. Randy,
wow.
Take a look at what's going on. You guys were just talking about storm surge. For most people, that feels like a flood. This is storm surge. This is the ocean coming into Naples. There is no delineation anymore between the Gulf of Mexico and Naples at this point.
The brunt of this is going to come on the back end as we get another solid gust of wind here. The back end is what city, state, local, county officials are so worried about. That storm surge that comes on the tail end after the eye passes, after those lashings kind of whiffed through this area and then it settles down. You're talking about 3 to 4 miles per hour, as I'm sure you've been saying. That crawl means a significant dumping of rain for several hours.
Inglewood to Bonita Beach, including swaths of Port Charlotte, are bracing for up to 18 feet of storm surge per NOAA. Quote, unsurvivable conditions.
At the moment, we're seeing doors flying off of places. Actually, I just saw one on the 4th floor that's moving, and we just saw a door come off of, you can sort of see it, Randy. Can you push into that? That's a door that's hanging off. There's siding that's floating away. We just saw a boat, a little dinghy float away. Take a look at all these cars now. I've been sort of focusing on these for the last couple of hours. These cars were all nicely parked in rows on the left and the right, and they're now all floating freely. My car's on the other side of the building, and I don't even want to look at what the situation is. Right now, we are not in the worst of it yet. The good news is it's still daytime, but so you can see what's going on, but nobody can get around. We've had a shelter-in-place warning, and we have seen tornado warnings as well within this hurricane, Katie.
Nothing prepares you here. It is truly just an amazing course and show by Mother Nature. This storm that's behind me right now, and again, you're still about 20 miles north of where the eye wall is, and the winds have picked up. As a matter of fact, just around the corner, I'm standing behind some shelter right now, and as I walk around the corner, I'll show you what it looks like here. These winds are easily 50 miles an hour right now.
Joining me now from Punta Gorda is NBC's Carrie Sanders. Carrie, what is it like there?
Well, you can see right now, take a look at that stop sign just blowing around as the wind is picking up there. It's a very, very strong hurricane right now, and I understand that we're going to see quite a bit more here as the evening gets on us. Right now, the wind's probably maybe 90, 95 miles an hour. I'm going to move out just for a moment so you can get an idea. But I mean, you can see that stop sign was bent over. So I'm going to move out. The camera is in a solid position. It's locked down. I'm moving out. Give me a second here. Understand that this is a little bit of a calculation here. All right. So there's the wind speed as I'm standing next to a building, which is somewhat protecting me. Okay. So I'll take a knee. Whoops. See if I can take a knee here. There we go. Let me just listen to the storm for a second. Okay. You guys got it. I'm going back up. This is really getting strong. You get the idea. That's power. That's Mother Nature. And that's what's going to be potentially taking off some roofs, peeling back shingles, knocking down tree limbs, taking out power. It's all of that. And we're going to see that for hours going here.
When we talk about storm surge, for people who don't experience it, they think of it as flooding. Let me just describe this to you. This is the Gulf of Mexico becoming one with Naples. This isn't flooding. This is the ocean flowing in, and with it, pushing water in. The hotel was actually trying to provide services, but we lost power. You can't get to the front of the hotel. The entire first level of the, is completely flooded.
Let me go back to our Ali Velshi, who was on the ground in Naples. And Ali, even from the top of the hour at 3 to now 33 minutes later, we've seen Ian make landfall. We've seen it get worse where you are.
Yep. Yeah, and by the way, another measure of how it has gotten worse is the 6 counties around here have now skyrocketed to 582,000 people without power.
I've been watching you all day long. Please also tell me how you're staying safe.
Thank you. You always ask, and we always appreciate that. And as you said it, we've heard, what did we just lose there, Peter? All right, something has come off the building that we're in. In fact, we're seeing a lot of that. Moments ago, we saw a fridge. You could see overturned vehicles.
So we're on the back end now where the back eye wall is coming through. We've had some of the strongest winds here so far. I'm inside a parking garage area, so we're somewhat protected, but the winds are furious, and as the winds are blowing, there are cases at certain points, there are things flying in the wind, like roofing shingles. It's going to be a very long time to get in a battle, to get an assessment of what's happened here, because it's starting to get dark, and when this storm finally passes through and the rain quits around midnight, then we'll wait for the sunlight to really see how bad it is.
Well, I just stood over here for a second, and you can see it's still here. We've got another one of these outer bands that's hitting us now on the back end, or what they call the dirty end of the storm, because obviously this part hit us. But a couple hours ago, this is first time in 6 hours that I've come back down to ground level. And it's a few hours ago, I asked my team, we heard something that sounded like structural damage under us, because we've been reporting from upstairs. And look at this. It's a cinder block wall that was the entire width of this area came down. You can see the bits of cinder block all over the place.
This week he became paralyzed and he was at the hospital, but they released him to come home.
So how did you protect him, and what was that like?
It was terrifying. I took some blankets and I put holes in them with the scissors, and I zip tied them to the hospital bed, and then I took a big tarpaulin that had grommets and I zip tied that over it, and then I put pillows in plastic bags and I duct taped them to the top of the sideboard, and then I put pillows between the sideboard and the window because I didn't want him to get cut up to death if the window blew in. And then I put a life jacket on him so that if the water came, he wouldn't drown, he would float.
Quite an ordeal for you to go through that. I mean,
but I don't want him to die.
No, of course. And he's okay, right?
He's alive. He's traumatized, but he's alive. He was supposed to have radiation on his spine on Wednesday, and that might have helped him to maybe walk again, but it got canceled. So we're hoping that, that maybe that will still happen.
Renee, as you're here and it's just you and your husband Christopher, your daughter lives in Nashville.
She does.
What do you do next? I mean, your arm, I notice, is very weak. It's broken.
Yeah.
So what do you do next?
I gotta go home and feed my husband and clean him up and start my day as a caregiver. Take my trusty flashlight and go do my job. I mean, yesterday I wasn't a very good caregiver. Most of the day I hid as he was scared, and I wasn't there to comfort him. I was hiding. I was a coward. I was under the table hiding.
I think everybody can understand you did so much for your husband.
But now he's, it's time to be his wife again and go back and do what he needs.
Well, God bless you for that.
So that's...
You were here for Hurricane Charlie 18 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Compare what the moments were like when especially the back end of the eye wall came through.
Charlie had no back end. Charlie was less than an hour. The sun came out in the eye. The sun came out afterwards. There was no torrential rain.
And the back end of this eye was?
Awful. Awful, awful. Long-lasting, as powerful as the front. You could hear the chimney getting ripped off the roof and coming down right above my head on the roof.
The chimney came down?
Yeah. My chimney came down. I was afraid it was going to come through the roof and crush me, even though I was under the table.
And were you able to look out, or do you have shutters up where you couldn't look out?
No, I didn't want to look out. I was too afraid, and it was dark, and I couldn't see anyway. And the rain was like white out. You could even when before it was dark, it got dark in the middle of the day, like 3, 4 o'clock. I mean, it was almost like nighttime. And when the rain started, it was like snow. You couldn't see out the windows for the few impact windows we have. The only place I could really get a vista is upstairs, and I know better. Don't go upstairs.
So take a look at this pickup truck, this Ford F-150. Hard to see, but the left tire of this car, Randy, I don't know if you see that. The left tire of this car is over the edge of the pier.
This is a live picture. This is live at the Sanibel Causeway. We told you about it right at the top of the show. Look how destroyed it is, right? This is the only connector from mainland Florida to Sanibel and Captiva.
Here in Fort Myers, with the sun now up, you can see the level of wreckage residents are grappling with in the wake of this brutal storm. And I'm just gonna kind of give you a picture of just the randomness of the brutality of this storm. Here on the marina, there was a couple of shops, a little B&B getting ready to set up shop above it. The wine bottles that were stored in here are perfect. None of them broke. And yet, when you see the intensity of it, talk about randomness. See the bed? You got the mattress and the box spring. They're not separated, but the building is blown out. And then here is what is really just, it gives you a real clear idea of the ferocity of the storm, the water and the wind. Like, this is a 50-foot yacht. It was docked over here in the marina. It ended up on top of that SUV. We were calm in our house until 1 p.m. At 2:30 more or less, we came out and the winds, all the water, because the water was inside our house, and we opened the door
Y entró
and
toda el agua.
all the water came in. ¿Cuánta agua? How much water? ¿Cómo se describiría eso?
Como
What,
fueron
like
3, 4 pies de agua.
3 or 4 feet of water just came right in.
Y nos
And
salimos
we
en
ran
carrera,
out,
mis hijos y
my
yo,
children and I holding
y
hands,
llegamos
and we came to
a una casa con
a
segundo
house
piso,
that had a second floor.
a una
And
laundry.
a laundry. Y esto durante el tiempo que el viento estaba en su apogeo. This is at the wind was at its strongest.
En el agua nos
In the
mecía
water,
para allá y
we
para
were
acá,
being
nos
moved left and
llevaba.
right, and it was we couldn't even. It was
nos
we
desatamos, pero nos volvimos a agarrar.
we sometimes lost our grip, but we were able to grab onto each other once again.
Y llegamos a eso,
And we got to that,
Dios, a
thank
esa,
God, to that 2-story structure that had,
planta y nos subimos
and
a
we
una
went to a laundry, and we were there. We were there 5 hours there, just in with panic because the water kept coming up and kept coming up, and we were crying and really, really ugly, so horrible. He was crying, "Mommy, don't let me die." Pero ve que salieron de esa. Dios los protegió.
Demasiado nos protegió Dios.
God protected us. God protected us.